In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace front sway bar bushings to subframe on a Nissan Maxima. 21mm socket, and we're going to remove the lug nuts on the right front tire. I'm going to do the same on the driver's side. Remove the lower sway bar link to the actual sway bar itself, 19mm on that holding pin, and then 18mm on the inside. I'm going to use a wrench. I'm going to come to the front and lift up. Now you can take that link right out and push it aside. So the sway bar bushing bracket is 2 mounting bolts. There's one right here and one in the back. Same identical situation on the other side. You undo the lower link so that you can take this bar and lift it up so that you hopefully can get a socket in there and access everything easier. So now that even the sway bar itself is rolled up out of the way because the link is disconnected, to get that sway bar bushing bracket out, the proper way is to dismount this rack and pinion. It's only held on with 2 bolts. I'm not going to undo the steering column or the tie rod ends. I'm just going to undo those 2 mounting bolts so we can slide that rack a little bit forward towards the engine compartment. We can get a nice clean shot in there and get both those bolts out. So the 2 mounting bolts for the power steering rack are on both sides, one on both sides of the exhaust pipe. You'll see a bolt here and a bolt here, and the nut goes straight up through the rack. 21mm socket and 21mm wrench on the top. We're going to take these bolts completely out. Now from the driver's side fender well, I've got a 16mm socket on that 3/8 drive, and I'm right on the most forward bolt for that sway bar bushing bracket. I'm going to break that free. Now I can take that front bolt out. So I used my 16mm deep 3/8 drive with a 3/8 ratchet for that back bolt on that bracket. Let's break that free. Once it breaks free, I don't think I'm going to be able to stay with this because it just barely cleared power steering lines that are in there. So I'm going to check my clearance a little bit. I might end up having to move to some sort of swivel socket. It's free now, so that's the good part. I'm going to get a bungee cord to hold that sway bar because now there's nothing holding it because of the bushings loose. So I can get a swivel in there, maybe do that the rest of the way. To finish this off in the back here, I use a 3/4 length 16mm socket and a 5-inch 3/8 swivel head ratchet. It fits in there perfectly, stays clear of everything. Okay, let's see if we can get that by hand. Nice. So there's the 2 bolts on the driver's side. Let's get that bracket and bushing. So lift up on that bracket. Take that bracket out. We're going to clean all this up. Now that bushing is split, but we can slide it right out. Just grab that split part, slide it off the bar. There we go. Wow. So now I'm on the passenger side fender well. I'm inside, and I get my 16mm deep socket on that sway bar bushing bracket, and I'm going to break it free. this off. I'm going to break free the backside before I move over to a shorter socket. There you go. Let's break this free. All right, now I'm going to switch over to my 3/4 length socket. Now I just switched over to my 3/4 deep 16mm socket. It's not the full deep socket, that way it won't hit the bottom out. And it just seems to work perfectly. I broke them both free, got the front one out now. Back one I broke free. Now I can use this smaller version and back this one completely out. Now we can pull that bracket up. Just get that out of the way. And now we can split that bushing. Find out where that cut is. There it is. It's in the back. Get that bushing right out of there. So here's our new sway bar bushing, and before I install that on the sway bar itself, I have always filled the inside with a thick paste, like a dielectric grease. It just helps it from wearing out and getting dry and wearing that bar down. It's just something I've done for years. Now I'm going to grab that bar, split that new bushing and slide it over. Just like that. Find where it seats. It's right about there. I'm going to get my bracket. Well, you can feel it actually. There's a little cutout groove. Get my bracket and attach that. So get the bracket over the bushing. Pretty much just squish it down. Squish it in place. We're going to find those bolt holes in that subframe. There we go. Start by hand. Nice. Before I even tighten these, I'm going to do the same to the other side. Put the new bushing on with the dielectric grease in it, mount it, and line the bolts up with the bracket. Then I will tighten them all down. So now I'm on the driver's side fender well, and I'm going to put the new sway bar bushing on that bar. I'm going to take that split. I filled it with the dielectric grease. Get my hand up on the other side. Split this open. Like that. There we go. Place that down, the spot. I'll get that bracket. Place the bracket over it. Start those bolts. All right, I'm going to grab my 3/4 deep 16mm socket and short ratchet and start those, get them started. All right, now I'm going to move over to the passenger side before I torque that down. Using the same setup on this side, my 3/4 deep 16mm socket and my 3/8 swivel ratchet. Okay, let's get the torque wrench. So the sway bar bracket to bushing to cradle is 50 foot-pounds. Got my long, deep 16mm 3/8 drive, and I'm going to bring them down to 50 foot-pounds. I'm going to do the same on the driver's side. Now we're going to attach the sway bar link to the sway bar. Fish that link right through. Take the lock nut, start it. That has Teflon thread on the end, so you're only going to go so far. 19mm wrench on the inside. And my 18 ratchet wrench. Once it bottoms out, now I'm going to get my torque wrench, put my 18mm socket on there, and set it to the factory spec. Torque spec for this sway bar link to bracket is 78.5. I'm going to do the same on the driver's side. Now we're going to mount the power steering rack to the subframe again. The 2 mounting bolts go right through the subframe, through the top of the rack. And you're going to put the nut on the top. Start it by hand. And then go over to the driver's side, same thing. Bring that up. You might have to grab the rack and center it. Put the nut on. And then we'll get our 21mm wrench and 1/2-inch drive socket and snug those up. Driver's side. So the torque specs for the rack to subframe is 155 foot-pounds, 21mm socket. I've got my wrench up there. Hopefully it's going to stop that from spinning. Now we can mount the tire. I'll lug this on by hand. .21mm socket. Go in a crisscross pattern or star pattern. Just snug them up. I'm going to do the same on the driver's side. And we'll torque them when we lower it to the ground. 21mm socket, 83 foot-pounds in a star pattern. Double check. I'm going to do the same on the driver's side. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.